I'm a cardiologist and a professor of cardiomyopathy, so that has two roles. From the cardiologist perspective, I'm seeing patients in clinics on the wards with myocarditis, and then the professor hat is the other half of what I do, and that's a research-based position, trying to understand why patients have illnesses, what we can do about them, how we can look at cures for them.
I joined Professor Prasad's team around 2016, and the aim of my project was to conduct some research into myocarditis. So there were lots of unanswered questions in myocarditis. For example, who gets myocarditis and why, who does well, who does badly, how can we understand ways in which to improve early diagnosis?
So typically what would happen is that in myocarditis, a patient would present with shortness of breath or chest pain. They'll be seen in their local hospital, and the question is, why has that happened? They're often young, it's sometimes post-viral, not always, and then they're referred for an MRI scan to try and work out what's going on. And it's at the MRI scan that we really have the best clue into the diagnosis and what's been the cause.
I think a lot of patients who've been diagnosed with myocarditis can be quite nervous. First of all, because they've been diagnosed with a condition that could be serious, and often they might not have any serious health conditions before, so they might have been fit and well.
The heart beats over 100,000 times a day. How does it work? Why does it work? Why does it keep going? What makes it stop? What makes it continue? Over the last 20 years, one of the biggest advances has been imaging and the role of biomarkers. So the ability to scan the heart and understand what's happening has meant that we're picking up diagnoses that were not readily available before.
At the Royal Brompton here we have one of 3 Tesla scanners, and this scanner has just recently been updated. And as you may have heard from other members of the team, we've been able to use some of the latest imaging techniques to look at the heart muscle in more detail than ever has been possible before.
The other thing that's made a big difference has been blood tests, where now we can home in on really early markers of disease and therefore pick up patients at an earlier stage and also think about the right treatment for them. So those have been 2 things that have made a big difference.
So this year we really have seen an unprecedented time with the COVID-19 pandemic, and the impact of that on myocarditis is something that we still need to look at in a lot of detail. So there have been some studies around the world suggesting that myocarditis is more common following COVID-19.
A lot of our research studies had to be paused for a while, and we couldn't get patients into the hospital for research visits, so it had a really big impact. And also some of the staff had to focus on other research to do with COVID-19 for a while, so it was kind of completely a shift in focus. So we're kind of now getting back to focusing on our usual studies, but it's had a really massive impact on us.
And also going forward, we'll continue to collect more data to understand, are there any downstream complications or problems that arise several months or potentially in the future years after that initial COVID-19 infection? So these are all unanswered questions that we're looking at actively.
One of the big attractions working with the Janssens Foundation was the fact that they understood our challenges, our needs, and they were prepared to act very quickly.
I do think working with the charity adds another dimension, because it reminds me of why we do the work we do and why we want to do more research, and that's of course to help patients, so we want to improve treatment and diagnosis.